Well, who's on first?
Yeah.
Go ahead and talk. Who? The guy on first.
Who?
The guy playing first base.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who is on first?
What are you asking me for? I'm asking you.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Who is on First. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I am Tim Ellebrook, that is Brian Kaplinger, and Michael Ramsey. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. I mean, it's been a beautiful week. Weather's pretty nice right now, and Cubs are playing well, so can't really beat it right now.
Absolutely. And, to be completely honest, we've been on chatting for a little bit before this. And so we're all a little giddy at some things that have happened prior. So you see the little chuckles. But, I mean, it makes for a great time. And like I said, like Michael said, not I said, but Michael, you said it. I mean, when it's beautiful outside, it makes the day better.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It really is gorgeous. Before we get started, I just want to thank you guys again for listening. Give us a follow, like, and subscribe, and some comments in the chat on any of the platforms that you guys listen to. That'd be greatly appreciated so we can keep talking. We got a few things to cover today. Might be short, but I always think that going into it, and then it ends up taking forever. Today I want to chat about small ball a little bit. The reason is there was this video that popped up in my algorithm. I'm going to give her a shout out. Brooke Knows Baseball. I think it's Brooke Knows Ball, actually. Great content. She's a really good storyteller, but she made a really funny video, or not funny video, but just fun video about is small ball back, is bunting back, and it was this great montage. I think I sent it to you guys, right?
You did.
Yeah.
You did. We got it.
So I think it'd be kind of fun to talk about because it does kind of feel like that, and I wanted to get you guys' perspectives. So when I dug into it a little bit more, if you compare this season to last season, it's actually not. Which I was kind of shocked by because I must admit, I'm a St. Louis fan, and we have a few players on our team that are more speed oriented players. They're not bats. And then we played the Tampa Bay Rays, who are also honestly pretty familiar roster wise up and down with that. Not a lot of power, but a lot of speed and athleticism. So in my mind, I think, that had a little bit to do with it. But when I dug into the stats, there's actually more stuff across the board. So just a couple small things. This year, so far into the season, there's 158 sack flies, 89 sack bunts or bunts happening, 450 stolen bases, and an average of 5 extra bases taken. Last year, there was 168 sack flies, so more sack flies. In the same time period, so start of the season to April 19th, 71 sack bunts, so there's more bunts this year so far than last year. Last year, 510 stolen bases so far. Again, this year is 455 so far, but an average of 4.7 extra bases taken. So extra bases is like first to third on a single, moving the runner over type thing. So after I looked at it, I was like, okay, maybe not, but it just kind of feels like that. What are your guys' thoughts? Does it feel like that? Obviously, the numbers kind of bear it out a little bit differently, but yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, part of that goes into, like you said, you guys have one of the top bunters in the league on your team with VS2. And, I mean, there's even situations where you're looking and you're like, there's no way this guy's bunting, and he's sitting up there ready to bunt right now, which I don't think is a bad thing because it's getting him going. It's getting him on base. And he's one of those guys that can steal bags at a high clip, so it only benefits the team to have a guy like him out there. But then again, you watch him, bunt a seemingly good ball just minutes ago, and your catcher gets thrown out at second base because he's slow as dirt. So, maybe there's some situational stuff there too that he's got to work on with his bunting. But no, I mean, I think I would agree. I would have guessed that numbers would have been a little up across the board, sack flies, things like that, as well as bunting, just because it seems like, one, teams have been scoring quite a few runs, but also I feel like I've seen a lot of teams bunting a lot more than they had been in previous years. But, evidently numbers say no, not so much right now. But I do think that there is a massive place for small ball in baseball, and I think that it wins a lot of games. We kind of switched completely, early 2000s. You either had like this crazy power hitter and then a bunch of small ball players, or it was all or nothing. And then we went to just all guys were trying to hit home runs. Every single player, you got guys that have no power at all up here trying to swing for the fences every single time,
Right.
and nobody was bunting at all. It was just absolutely infuriating to watch because it's like, especially during the shift era where we didn't even have metrics, or we didn't even have rules in place to say you can't go past second base when a guy's up to bat, and you know you see the entire left side of the field is wide open, and the guy's refusing to put a ball over there, and it's like, just drop a bunt. Like, some of these guys are fast enough. That's a double if you drop a ball down the third baseline,
Right.
and they just wouldn't do it. But it does seem like we are kind of starting to shift back into that, where we're seeing a little bit of it. So I'd say it'd be something fun to watch the remainder of this year. More people besides just the VS2s and the PCAs of the world. If you're going to start seeing more of these middle of the row hitters and stuff, or guys that are struggling, drop in bunts, or purposely, hitting those pop flies, sack flies, to get guys in, rather than trying to be the hero that's hitting a home run every single time, because
Right.
you win a lot more games with those guys that third inning spin a ball out in the right field and advance the guy to third base or scored a run than the guys that hit the walk-off 3-run homer or something. You're going to see a lot more of those guys play the hero, and you not even realize it, than the guy who hits that walk-off. So I think small ball is on its way back up, whether the numbers say 100%, like I said, that it's taking the game back over, but I do think it's starting to find its place again.
Yeah, I mean, I will echo that. I mean, I think it's finding its place again, but I'll be interested in this. And Tim, you may have the numbers, you may not. I don't even know if we can really find them at this point in the season, but I'm interested because I think the idea of small ball, yes, the sacrifices, all of that stuff, the numbers don't necessarily pan out to say that it's necessarily a larger than what a percentage than what it was last year. But I would say this, I think there are more hitters that are actually going up there with the notion to bunt for a base hit in situations than there have been. So even though it's not necessarily a sacrificed moment where they're intentionally trying to move a runner in the small ball aspect, but like, there's been times when VS2's just been up, and I speak from the Cardinals side because I see it a lot more, that he's just laying down a bunt to get on. It's not just to move a runner over. Now, ultimately, there are those sacrifice moments that he is intentionally putting it down to try and move the runner up or take the extra base. But I think there are more players that are willing to bunt and find themselves on, which does speak to more of the small ball aspect, because yes, it is, about moving runners over. You think about for Cardinals in the past, that Whitey ball era, where it wasn't so much about power hitting the ball out of the ballpark. It was get on base in whatever way you can. And for some of them, it is laying down the bunt and trying to get a single out of it, even with no one on. And so I'd be fascinated to kind of see, and again, I'll have to do some digging. Probably should have done it before the podcast, but I just thought of this as we were talking.
I think I got you covered a little bit.
Uh-oh.
So
look at that.
You're talking about the idea of that, like, they're bunting for a hit, not just trying to move the runner over.
Yeah, well, not even just that. Like, I mean, I've seen multiple times already, like with VS2, no one's on base. So there's not a concerted effort for like a sacrifice or to move someone over, but he's still laying the bunt down. And now, granted, I think some aspect of this is here in St. Louis for us. This was all like talked about all off season, especially for someone like VS2. He was working on being able to bunt the ball at a higher level. And so we heard that a lot. And so I think it resonates with us more so than maybe somebody else in another team, like at the Yankees, where they're not bunting the ball or sacrificing. They're swinging a whole lot more. But I do think when I look around the league and when I watch the replays or other games, there are players that are more willing to just bunt in maybe what we wouldn't consider bunting situations. They're bunting looking for the base hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the only thing I could find with the brief time while you're talking is you can categorize and see how many teams are bunting for hits. So it's not
Yeah.
necessarily it takes it out of the sacrifice category. And it is kind of interesting with the same sample size from the beginning of the season to April. There were, let's see, there is Arizona is leading with 7, then Tampa Bay with 6, White Sox with 5, St. Louis with 4, and then Atlanta. No, I'm sorry, Athletics with 3 in 5th place.
Right.
This year, last year, St. Louis was leading with 6 at the time. So what was opening day? It was late March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To April 19th, St. Louis had 6 at this time period. Cleveland then had 4, Miami with 4, San Francisco with 4, and then Kansas City in 5th place with 3. So
Yeah.
across the league, there is more. St. Louis had 2 more in the same time period.
Yeah,
But
they've been more successful at it. Doesn't necessarily mean that they weren't trying it last year too. You see what I'm saying?
correct.
That's
Yeah,
where it's a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, when it gets caught, it takes it out of the hit category, so it doesn't
Yeah.
kind of
Right.
it separates the two. But it is kind of interesting. I do think that I do think in a general sense in the league, athleticism is getting higher
Yeah.
in,
Right.
I guess you could say, preference for teams. Slugging is never going to go away because a home run changes the game completely.
Yep.
Right.
4 total bases is better than 1 total base every day.
True.
But the percentage of a home run versus a single is obviously lower. If a hitter's hitting 300, that means 3 out of 10 times they hit, and out of those 3 times, it's probably 0.5% might be a home run, if even that. So
Yeah.
obviously the amount of times is still lower, but the home run's still a game changer. But you can tell across the league speed is getting more and more. I think
Yes.
some teams outweigh others. Like this year, Tampa Bay is leading the league. Then Milwaukee is really high up there. Most of Milwaukee's offense is really most of Milwaukee's position players are really fast and athletic oriented. So you
Right.
can kind of see that trend a little bit. And I also think, I don't know that it's not translating numerically right now, but I kind of get the sense that contact is going up a little bit.
Yeah.
And that might be, down the roads, teams are picking that out in drafts and developing that in the minors, and it's not trending, in the major leagues just yet. But if you can watch, or when you watched last year with Toronto in the World Series
Right.
and their run completely, they had the highest contact rate in the league, one of the lowest strikeout rates in the league. And the success of that, they still lost, but they were 2 outs away from winning the game.
Yeah.
Still winning the World Series. So I feel like that trend is going there, but time's only going to tell, right?
Sure.
And again, we could be seeing it in the minor leagues already. I haven't looked, but I would say as a fan that stuff's more fun. But home runs are fun too. You want both, right?
True.
You do. You need both, obviously, which is what makes it fun. But for just a general fan, whether you're watching or you're at the game live, more people on base creates more action naturally. Like you're going to see more movement. I think the product of making the bases bigger so that there are more steal attempts, whether they're successful or not, they create more action within the game, which makes it more entertaining across the board. And so for even the general fan, home runs were great, but we got to a place where it was boom or bust, where it's like you might see 2 home runs in a game, but you're seeing, 15 strikeouts.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately if you're not a fan of the pitcher, that's not exciting.
Yeah.
Watching somebody swing and miss and go sit down. And so I think, I don't think this is money. It helps with getting fans in the seats, but I think teams are realizing, like you said, Tim, with what Toronto was able to do, you have a better success rate with your prospects, teaching them how to make contact versus becoming more power driven. That's a rare ability. Like there are some players that will develop more power as they get older and see the ball better, but you can help coach and develop contact. I'm not saying hard contact, but just putting the ball in play can result in baseball. I mean, we see it. You know, you hear it if you've ever been in any little league across the United States, maybe even other countries, they will tell you, don't worry about like hitting the ball out of the ballpark. Just put it in play. You never know what's going to happen. Just put it in play. And I think major league teams are getting back to that notion.
I feel like that's the mission statement of baseball. I mean, I've only been following the game for obviously a handful of years, but the amount of times I've heard that from everybody is like, from every announcer, you never put the ball in play. You never know what's going to happen. And it's true because of the randomness of just how, you know, things work. It is interesting. Also, the walk rate has gone up this year versus last year, but I kind of think that's more associated with the ABS right now because strikeouts are still pretty stinking high.
Yeah.
A trend that will be interesting to follow as, you know, like, I feel like if you could look back as what I've seen, you know, the trend of baseball tends to run like 10 to 12 years till it shifts a little bit.
Yeah.
So obviously bat speed has trended to be like the supreme thing you want to find in players. And so I'll be interested to see, you know, if contact rates and percentages are going to start to grow. What does that mean for bat speed? Because finding really high bat speed and really high contact rates is probably like a needle in a stack of needles. Like, you know, Vladdy, is that the only human that can do that in baseball?
I was going to say, there aren't too many Yordan Alvarez's and, you know, those type of guys.
And then, but Yordan's not athletic, so he doesn't have that part either. So it's like...
He might argue with you on that one, but...
You can argue all you want, man. I mean, and this is not me trying to be a homer, but if you think about the bat speed and contact and athleticism, like Walker is a good example of that. Obviously, contact is not in his game as the last week and a half, but he's really fast, really high bat speed for those 2 weeks, a lot of contact.
Yeah.
But so anyway, that's kind of just a random thing, but I'll be interested to follow that trend because, like, can those two things coexist at the same time?
Yeah.
I'll say this, and then Michael, I'll let you talk too. It's interesting because I'll go back and I'll do the throwbacks. Like you look at like even Griffey and Barry Bonds when they first came into the league, they're what you're seeing. Like, I'm not saying he will be this, but they're what you're seeing in a Jordan Walker type. He's 23. I mean, and yes, he's 6'7", whatever it is. Like he's a big boy he is athletic by all means. But as he fills out, I'll be interested to see, because if you go back and look at like the early seasons for Barry Bonds, he had power even as a thin, younger outfielder where he was what I would say stealing 30 bases and hitting the bombs and things like that. But then as the game shifted a little bit, he became a little bit not like bigger, but more solid and thick. And then that's when, like, you know, he went to the power profile that he had. I mean, I think of like Albert Pujols as well.
True.
They always start off in this realm. And so it'll be fascinating to watch as some of these guys' careers develop, because you're going to have the Bobby Witts of the world who are always going to be athletic for the majority of their years. And then when they're not, they'll position shift. Like Cal Ripken, right? Going from shortstop to third, Manny from short to third. Those things will happen to the really athletic guys because you need not so much in the corners, but up the middle is where you need your athleticism.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of interesting. And that's the one reason why I kind of always have had a frustration. As much as I don't like the Cardinals, I want to see a player like Walker succeed, is whenever they sent him down, I never understood the thought process that they were going for in that whole scheme of things, because I'm like, this is a young guy who's hitting the baseball. And that's half the battle with these major league guys. How many guys come up and they can't even put a ball in play? But this kid actually was. He was putting the ball in play. The power will come with it. Someone that is that large, as you continue to work with him, the power would have came. You don't send him back down to AAA, you know, because we're 20 games into the season and he had a bad game. Like, that's just, and it cost you guys 2 years with him. I mean, you're fortunate that he got into a good, hitting coach or whatever this past off season, and it's really turned him around. But I 100% agree with you, Brian, that like the athletes on this that we're seeing right now are like at an absurd rate. I mean, you can see guys that are catchers now that you would have never seen behind the plate.
Right.
For every Alejandro Kirk that you see out there, there's a lot more like Dylan Dinglers and stuff like that out there, Will Smiths and stuff. Like these guys are athletes that are absurdly great. They can run the bags and stuff, and you don't see it every day. But yeah, it is going to be an interesting next like 3 to 5 years, like you said, Tim, to see how much contact plays into things with the small ball. How many home runs are we still seeing get hit? Because I do think that we need to kind of make a shift to a lot more of these middle of the road type players playing more contact baseball because it makes it more fun. Like the games we were watching the Dodgers and Toronto play last year in the World Series were electric.
Right.
Like when you go out there and you watch 3 innings straight, they get guys on first and second, or second and third. Like that really makes the game exciting. And as somebody that loves the game, even when a pitcher is just absolutely mesmerizing out there, and it's the casual fan, they're like, yeah, it's kind of boring. He's got 8 strikeouts. Like they're not hitting balls. Like, well, he's got 8 strikeouts because did you see that sweeper in the second inning? That was nasty. But like it is more exciting just in general to see those guys like on the bags making things happen. I was at a game this past week, and it's like the fans are a lot more engaged watching those guys go from first to second, first to third, because guys are putting the ball in the gaps and stuff. And it's like, yes, everybody wants to see the home run, but like you said, Brian, we reached a point that it just became too much, and it's either a home run or strikeout, and that was pretty much the only two things we were seeing in the game. And it's not much fun to watch a 15 strikeout game when the pitcher's not even throwing that great. It's just the guy's just swinging for the fences, and it's the ball's 30 feet off the plate, and he somehow swung at it. So, I think we're coming to a good happy medium, but it is going to definitely continue to shift, I think, with the way they're playing right now.
Yeah.
It is interesting. I'm sorry, Brian. Did you?
No, I was going to ask you a question. I'm going to flip the tables here a little bit on you because no, I was thinking about this. I think there is a trend alongside of like this small ball that's becoming a little bit more fascinating to me. And it's simply this, that the superstars of the league are younger than I think they've ever been.
True.
And because of this young draw, and I think it's good for baseball because it's going to bring in a younger fan base, that's there as well. But I think because some of the superstars are younger, still maybe nearing their prime, not necessarily in what baseball terms would be their prime years, but they're finding success this way. Is that why you think you're seeing some of this shift? And maybe you talk about the idea of athleticism taking over the game.
I do. There is a point that you make with athletes and the younger players. I would say the success, it has to be on a TBD basis because, Roman Anthony's probably the longest tenured version of that, and he's only played for 3 months now because he got his extension.
Yeah.
He didn't get called up at the beginning of the season last year. It was like midway through the season.
Right.
He's not a 5-tool player because his defense, a lower, but he's still an athletic guy. I think we'll have to see in a couple of years.
Sure.
Yeah,
for the success part of it. But I do agree with you. Like, yeah, having younger players in the game does make the game more athletic and faster. I was thinking Connor Griffin will be a perfect guinea pig to see how this is going to be in 5 years because, he charts out as he charts out as a power hitting version of Bobby Witt.
Yeah.
Great defense, speed, all those things, but he just started.
Yep.
Right. I mean,
Can
and
he
there
make contact, which is the thing that we've been kind of talking about.
there's the unicorns, right? Like Soto.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest, 18 years old can make the transition because he's the unicorn in baseball in that regard. But like when I look around, like, I mean, the majority of superstars we're talking about now are 21 to 25 years old.
True.
Like these guys aren't older guys. Whereas you flash back 7 years ago, and I would say most MLB players were getting their start. Some of their rookie years were 24, 25, and the
Judge.
prime was, the prime was 25 to 32.
Yeah.
Do we, maybe the question is, and we might not have an answer, this is going to be determined, like you said, by like the Griffins and those type of players. But is the prime of someone's career shifting now? And it's not 25 to 32 anymore. Maybe now it's more, 23 to 30. Yeah. And then you're always going to have, again, you're going to have the unicorns like an Albert Pujols, or those that can go well into their 30s, like a Barry Bonds, and still produce at a high level. It's just not going to be as frequent.
Yeah. I do think that's true, because I also think there's something associated, and you guys can tell me wrong, because you've been paying attention to the game a lot longer than me. But it is interesting that the age and the starting age are different from position players to pitchers.
Yeah.
Paul Skeens is a unicorn at 21 years old, being able to throw. Like his body, that's a one of one.
Yeah, he's
kind of like Shohei in a sense. Obviously, different age. Because if you think about Roki Sasaki, is like 22, I think, or 21, and man, that kid can't.
Right.
It seems like he can't survive right now.
Yep.
So I think Skeens is a 1-on-1, but I think like when if you look back to who's the Detroit kid, he just signed on this Verlander. When Verlander first started, he was like 22 or 23.
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like I remember reading one time the average age was like 25 or something for a starting pitcher. But now pitchers are probably starting 23, 24, whereas position players are 21-ish.
Yep.
I personally, my theory, and I'm not saying it's accurate, but it's just my theory is that with pitching the way it is and the way velocity exists, like you need younger eyes to be able to keep up. I'm not saying this is a great analogy, but if you think about how video games have trended, and how I don't know if you understand the term APM, or actions per minute is what it's called. But like most video games now, that number is skyrocketed because kids can just like do this. Back in the day, games were slower. So again, it's not the greatest analogy, but I wonder if that has put its way in baseball as to where like pitching is just so crazy. You see fastballs in high school at 100. So how can a 25 you wait to bring a 25-year-old up because he finally sees it when his prime's probably like halfway through?
Sure.
That's just my theory. I'm not saying it's like I'm not saying there's data behind it, but that's just a little bit of logic that makes sense to me.
I think the big shift you see there, or the big difference in particular, is you see more position players get drafted out of high school versus pitchers. You see a lot more of them come from the college ranks, guys that have shown that they can play at a high level within the college ranks. Even Paul Skeens, for instance, was there. Now, given he was ready for the MLB right away. Like he could have walked off the field at LSU, walked into Pittsburgh that fall, and pitched in the big leagues and still done well. Like he didn't need time in AAA. But like you said, he is truly a unicorn. Most of those guys need a half a year at least. But you're seeing a half a year versus year. Versus even you see with these elite young prospects, Connor Griffin stands out because he is 19 still. Most of those kids, you don't see them till, like you said, 21 or so, because they have some development, but those teams want to work with that development themselves. Pitching overall, like, you kind of know what these guys are going to be working on in college, and they'd rather that develop in that side of things and have those guys come in immediately into AA or AAA ready to rock, versus the position players. You want to watch the Max Clark and stuff of the world, where it's like you want to put everything you have behind this kid because you see that superstar in him in high school, but you want to make sure he's coming along how your franchise wants him built up. Because otherwise you run into some of these where it's like, a guy does go through college, he kind of, starts to feel himself a little bit, and maybe he doesn't necessarily meet, like I thought Dylan Cruz was going to be exceptional.
Right.
The way he played his final 2 years in college, but you're seeing a shift here. It's like, maybe how things were down at LSU versus how things are in Washington, drastically different for especially these position guys. You used to see it in football a lot where you'd get like these Alabama players and stuff would come in and they're like elite in college. Then they'd get to the NFL and they're like, honestly, Alabama was a lot harder on me. They made me do this, nutrition work, and I had to be at workouts and stuff. That's what they want to build with those young guys for the
Right.
position players. And so when they're going to these colleges and stuff, and if they go to like a little more, it seems like lackadaisical place like Washington that isn't developing guys as well. Abrams, obviously, like we thought he was going to, shoot off and like become this great player, but he's not developing as fast as we thought either. So I think that's why you want to see these position players right out of high school versus pitching, and why you see that age gap versus 21 is where you're seeing the position guys, and then pitchers are 23 to 24 is when you're starting to see those guys, because they're also coming into their own fully at that point with like their muscle and things like that, pitching and stuff. So you're also going to have seen like if a guy is more likely to end up with like Tommy John or something like that. He
Right.
probably has already done that in college. I don't know all the metrics behind that, but
No,
that would be my
I
assumption is like a guy that is
I think
more
you're-
predestined or predetermined that he's probably going to end up with shoulder or arms problems. Probably they'd rather see him do that in college than draft him, super high and then watch him blow out his arm at 19 or something. So, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that.
You make an interesting point though, because Skeens and Dylan Cruz were in the same draft, but like 2 numbers apart, maybe there was 1 and 2 pick if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I
I
can't
think they
recall.
were.
They were
I
close.
think they were.
Same age, same draft class, same graduation, but they have both. The trajectory is just complete opposite directions. But
Yep.
when you look at them in their draft, you're like, holy cow, both those kids are ready.
Yeah.
And you have Wyatt Langford was in the same draft, and he came up way earlier than Cruz and has been, I wouldn't say he's, elite, but he's above average and has taken off quicker.
And if you look at that time frame, until the final probably month and a half of Skeens' college career, it was Dylan Cruz was by far going to be the number 1 pick. But Skeens was so elite through the SEC tournament and through the regionals and the World Series and everything that teams realized like this kid is legit. He is like ready for pro baseball, and he's got all the size in the world. Like he doesn't have anything that you look at him and you go, I don't know, he's a little undersized for a guy that throws that hard, or I don't really like his arm angles and stuff. Like Skeens is literally the perfect prototype of what you're looking for in a professional pitcher. So they're just like, once they saw him do it at an elite level, it was kind of, all of a sudden Skeens became the number 1 pick, and then Cruz was falling down just because Skeens was so great. But now here we are sitting here going, is Dylan Cruz going to actually play in some major leagues, or are you going to have to watch him, be one of those reclamation projects that ends up in a different organization before you maybe ever see him?
Right.
And
But I
imagine
think
an alternate universe. I'm sorry.
no, go. I mean,
I was saying, imagine an alternate universe where Cruz stayed the first pick and Pirates got Cruz instead of.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it'd be a mess. But what I was going to say is that's what I love about baseball, though, is there's so much variety to it. Even I think more than other sports, because you can have these young kids that like a Soto or maybe Griffin if he develops, but then you have somebody who is not on anybody's radar. And then all of a sudden at 25 years old, like Aaron Judge comes out, and now you talk about him as maybe one of the greatest baseball players of all times. And baseball, affords you the opportunity to develop a little bit later than most other sports.
Yeah.
And I think, and I think there's so much beauty in that. But having said all that, there is starting to be a premium on the athletic younger generation because of what they're able to do. It will be fascinating in years to come to see if it translates to pitching, because you go back to the WBC and you think about the kid that's in high school that ended up striking out Judge,
Yeah.
right? And he's throwing,
100
gas
miles.
already.
17.
Yeah, and it's at 17 years old. Like, I mean, how much
Yeah.
longer do you wait on a kid that can perform at that level of play? And does that start to translate even on the pitching side? Pitching's naturally going to take longer because command isn't as easy.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that hitting a baseball is easy by any stretch, but for positional players, you can be elite at the fielding side and take time to develop the hitting side. Pitching, if you're not good with your accuracy, you're going to get found out pretty quick.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Your body, I think, to Michael, to your point, with velocity gaining more ground the younger you are now, I think kids are blowing out their arms and hurting their arms
100%.
quicker.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's not a pitcher, but if you think about the Cardinals' issues with Dylan Carlson and how his body could never hold weight enough to just survive a whole season,
Yeah.
that is the case with pitchers too. Like, your body is so important in how much weight mass you have and everything behind it. And if you're not big enough to survive, like, well, how are you going to throw 100 innings even? Because like, think about the Cardinals have had issues with Tink Hintz. He has to be on the 40 man, and he's already used 2 options, and he's never even had like more than 10 innings in AAA.
Wow.
Because he's so small and his body can't handle his velocity yet.
Well,
Right.
it's kind of funny on that point. Like, I think back of CC Sabathia. One year he dropped a ton of weight, and he talks about it like in his post-career and stuff. And he put the weight back on because he was struggling to keep his velocity and stuff up. He said he was like, his body was hurting significantly more. And so it's like, you look at him most of his career, you're like, this guy's overweight. Like, he'll admit to it. Like, the guy was an alcoholic during his career, but like, his body knew how to hold up to that lifestyle, and like, he was this really heavy guy, but he threw really hard, and so whenever he dropped a bunch of weight, dropped like between 30 and 50 pounds or something one off season, and comes out and it's like, this is not the same guy in the worst way possible, and so he put the weight back on until he finished out his career and stuff. But it is kind of fascinating, especially for pitchers, like you said, like, if your body cannot hold up and obviously they're only out there every 5 days, or maybe a couple times a week if you're a reliever, but like, that season's long, and when you're throwing 100 pitches every 5 days or something at 100 miles an hour for, let's say, half of them, that's why I question, there was talk of San Diego potentially moving Mason Miller to a starter before he's gone on this crazy stretch that he's been on. But like, you take a guy like him and you try to make him into a starter, like, he's going to blow his arm out because your body just physically can't hold up to throwing like that every 5 days. I just don't think.
You can't throw 70 pitches at 104?
Yeah, right.
Right, yeah, in a row. That kind of makes me think of the joke about Lance Lynn. I think it was like 2013 or 14. I think the Cardinals made him drop a bunch of weight because they thought they could get more velocity and stamina out of him. But then that year, like, he was atrocious.
Yeah.
Right.
So there was a joke in one of the announcers was like, Lance, go eat some more pizza, put on some more pounds, and come back.
It's true.
Yeah, it is true. To your point, Brian, though, but like, this sport is such a unique animal. I feel like, unlike football or basketball, where those athletes are a little more homogenized, and not in a negative way. It's just there's some normality to it. But like in baseball, that this particular sport, there's so many parts to the human and what they need to do. Like Paul Skeen's body compared to Tarek Skubal's body compared to Roki Sasaki's body.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, all 3 of them are throwing 100, but they all look really different. And like, they all had different starting ages too. Yeah. Like, Tariq Skubal didn't get off till after college and into his career. Paul Skeen started right away, dominant.
Yep.
Roki can't survive right now. So man, it is so unique, and it will be interesting. But I do think, back to my original point, I do think Connor Griffin is going to be an interesting person to watch to see if this trend lasts, because first of all, can he make contact with the other amount of tools, or is he going to be a swing and miss home run guy? because he profiles contact right
Yeah.
now, but pitching's pretty crazy. And then does contact go up with the athletic portion of the league?
Sure.
Right. No, it's
Right.
good.
All right, the next thing I just wanted to talk about, there's some weird things going on in the league and in the standings right now that just make no sense. Like the NL Central being the best division in baseball. Who would have seen
Juggernaut.
that? The Phillies and the Mets just look like, and they're just they're the new Rockies of the Rockies and the White Sox of the league right now. So I thought we could just take some time to maybe we can dive a little bit, like what the heck is going on. The one thing I would mention is, again, that is the beauty of what this sport is. Like, the Toronto Blue Jays have one of the worst records, and they were 2 outs from winning the World Series last year. Like, that makes no sense.
Yep.
There is associated with pitching injuries, but I do think it's interesting. One thing I'll read off before we go off is the Phillies just lost another series. I think they played Atlanta, right?
Yep.
This number came out. The Phillies have already lost more series at home this year in 2026 than they did all of 2025 last year.
Crazy.
Right.
Last year they lost 3 series at home the entire year, and this year so far they've lost 4. They have the worst run differential in baseball. So I think is Rob Thompson going to get fired?
That's a really good question. I mean, obviously, we're still early. I mean, obviously, I think we're far enough in the season where you are definitely starting to look at trends and patterns of teams, because by this point, you're starting to become who you are. That doesn't mean that they can't hit lightning in a bottle. We've seen it. Like, I even look at and talking about who the Cardinals are playing, the Astros. They've started off miserable, and then they get hot, and all of a sudden they're right back in the conversation, right? All these teams are still in that, because you look at it, like even the Blue Jays, 7-13, 7-14, right? They go on a 7-game winning streak, and they're back to 500, and everybody's like, uh-oh, here we go. Like, that's not unheard of. So it's still early enough for that. But it is fascinating, to your point, like, because the Phillies, to me, just scream of something internally not right. And that's where you start to wonder if the manager hasn't, that proverbial talk of lost the clubhouse, or, all of that fun stuff.
Turns out Nick Castellanos was holding the whole thing together.
He was keeping them straight.
We didn't know. It like, to your point, Tim, like, quite the opposite of like Philadelphia and New York, and maybe part of the reason why they're not panicking yet is because both of the two of them are struggling, and those are the two teams that we were kind of like, these are going to be the 2 best teams in that division.
Right.
But to the point of, even if they have had injuries, tell me a team outside of Atlanta that came into the season with more doom and gloom because of how their injury report looked like. And, they're sitting here having won nearly 70% of their games already. So, it's one of those things, like you said, we are at an absurd start right now. Like, the Cubs are 11-9, maybe going to be 12-9 and 11-10 or something, and they're in the bottom of the division with a plus 30 run differential right now. So it's like, the Central Division's absolutely unbelievable. The AL Central is confusing as all get out. The Twins, for some reason, are an absolute juggernaut at home right now. Especially against left-handed pitching.
Right.
Like,
where did that come from?
For our viewers and stuff. Like, I don't know if you've seen the statistics, but they went against Valdez, Skubal, and Crochet, and they put up like 22 runs in 11 innings or something ridiculous against those three.
It was very ridiculous.
Nuts. Like, so it's like, but like Brian, you said, like, Toronto, I would be concerned if it wasn't for every team in that division besides the Yankees has a negative run differential. So Toronto starts playing better, all of a sudden they're right back in that thing too, because it's not like everyone else is just playing at an elite level. But it's really weird right now, boys. Like, we got some really weird looking divisions right now.
You are not lying in that. Like, it has messed with my head quite a bit looking at the standings.
The Angels are decent. What?
Well, Mike
Yeah.
Trout's having quite a historic run. I just saw something with Toronto about how, where, man, I just lost it and I'm trying to find it. They've lost 12 of their last 15, but now in this game, so we're recording on Sunday afternoon. In this game, they've just out hit everybody. They have back-to-back single, a double, single, 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 double, walk, then a strikeout. Their first strikeout, then a double in the first inning of a game. So it's like, oh, now they're hitting.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, that's the beauty. Like, I mean, who would have thought, like, honestly, you said it earlier, Michael, the Braves with 14 wins to this point, 7 games from the Mets who are in dead last. And I'm sorry if you're a New York Met fan chiming in right now. I know it's miserable on every level for you, but like injuries happen. And I think teams plan for that. I mean, now, obviously, there's still some oddities to all that's going on with this because, again, the Twins sitting at 11-10, I would have never pegged. I thought they were going to be closer to what the Rockies were looking like.
If you think about the first week of the season, Twins were like,
they were awful,
playing the most atrocious baseball you've ever seen in your life.
Right.
They had tens of fans in the stands.
And they gave 90% of their team away last year. And so it's like, you know, you would have assumed they would be the ones that are fighting for the number 1 overall pick coming in the next year. And it's just, but again, it goes back to the fact, like, you just look at what baseball is. And that's why I think it's so unique because people can get hot. And now if I were a betting person, I'm going to sit here and tell you right now, I'm not betting on the Twins being third and the AL Central come the end of the year. Like, I think some other teams are going to figure it out, but I would have bet money. And I actually said in the predictions that I thought Kansas City was going to run away with that division. And it's quite the opposite. They can't get out of their own way.
Yeah. And you want to talk that there may be something going or brewing internally. You know, the guy I thought might be manager of the year might be on his way out of Kansas City. I mean, it's Salvador Perez is, you know, he's a mainstay. The guy's been in Kansas City for like 15 years. And we're sitting here a day that the manager said he needs a mental break, and Salvi's popping back on Twitter saying, I didn't need a mental break. Not a good look for an organization, especially an organization that's filled with a bunch of young guys that, you know, Salvi's kind of, you know, I would say probably like the anchor point for that team. It's kind of a curious look because I can tell you this much. Unless Salvi wants out, the Royals front office has a zero desire to trade that guy. He loves Kansas City. They've built everything on that man's back. Like Salvi is the Kansas City Royals. Their pitching staff has been unbelievable. I mean, I want to say like their 5 starters had like a combined like 2.8 ERA or something ridiculous, but they cannot hit at all. And it's like, you know, you want to question moves. It's, you know, they pull Caglione out of the roster today or out of the lineup today, and the guy's batting 260. He's one of your best hitters on your team who actually has been hitting the baseball this last week. Why are you pulling him out of your lineup today? Like,
and Vinny P's been really rough too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, everybody likes Vinny, but at what point, like, Kansas City's done it before and it's worked. Mike Moustakas, the year they won the World Series, got sent down to AAA, and he was the first baseman. Like, he was the guy at that time, or the third baseman. And then you sent him down. He figured it out and got going. At what point does that become Vinny? Because you can throw Salvi over there at first base all day. Caglione has first base experience. Any of these other young catchers and stuff, like, I'm sure you could throw them over there because right now it's not your defense that's the problem. It's your hitting. And you cannot keep affording to throw a guy out there who's batting like 118 every single game. Like, at a certain point, he needs a week off or like some time down in AAA because something is not clicking for that guy. but like
And a
I said,
week at Driveline, baby.
yeah, right. Apparently, that's where I'm starting to really question a manager like that because you're making some really questionable decisions, and then the captain of your team is calling you out on social media, and not a guy that you would typically see do something like that either. Like it's not like Salvy's like this crazy vocal like social media guy. Like that's a pretty absurd thing to see happen. And like I said, from a young team like they have, kind of concerning if you, from my point of view.
So, question for you guys. Let's look at the NL East real quick. Phillies were the favorite to win the division.
Yep.
Then I would say the Mets and the Braves were honestly pretty close in picks and everything.
Yep.
Do you think the Phillies and or the Mets will either turn it around this deep in the season? And I'm not saying, obviously, the sample size is small. We're 21, 22 games in. So there's 120, 140 games left, which is a long time. But there's only, I did read something yesterday, for teams that start with a, 300 or 350 to 400 winning percentage, like out of all of them, only 2 have ever made the playoffs in the last 20 years.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's an uphill climb.
Would you ever put anything on any of them making it out?
I would say if I personally was going to believe in one of those 2 teams, it'd be Philadelphia. Just because of the guys that are on that team. The pitching staff has been through a lot. It's not like you have you have one young arm and then you've got a lot of guys that have a lot of experience. And so I think they can. And the thing is, that's been one of their problems has been their pitching staff. They got a lot of veteran arms that I think could figure some stuff out. Yeah. And then Harper's hitting the ball. You got to get Schwarber and a couple of these other guys, like your acquisition in the offseason of Adolis Garcia. Like that's a guy you need to see going. Alec Boehm and starting them. But I believe those guys, if either one of those teams is going to turn around, would be those ones. The Mets are a team that I think just have a bunch of guys I can see absolutely folding. I love Lindor, but Soto just does not strike me as like the guy that's just got this crazy drive to bring this team back around and stuff. Like unbelievable talent, but he's more of a
he's going to sell off the ones that aren't in the Dominican.
Like it's the I just don't really believe much in New York, and they're another team that you're probably sitting here right now, and their coach Mendoza is sitting here like, am I gonna have a job in a week?
Right.
Because I mean, the Cubs did push it into the 10th inning, so there's a chance that they end up winning this and drop them into their 11th straight loss. Like, and New York, as you boys know, is the loudest environment in baseball as far as their fans go. So, obviously they're not the Yankees, but the Mets fans are very vocal as well. So, not a place that they're going to let you be mediocre for very long, especially with the expectations that were on this team.
Yeah.
Brian, I'll let you go first.
No, I agree with the notion of like, if one of these 2 teams can figure it out, I lean towards the Phillies, and not even so much. Like, yes, I mean, I think there's some good veteran presence. I think the pitching staff is a little bit more, weathered in the sense they've been through some difficulties. But the Mets just seem like so disinterested to me. We knew it was going to be kind of, a crapshoot when you're changing players' positions and they're playing positions that they've never played for a good period of time. But we thought their hitting would at least account for some of that. And I don't know if it's just got in their head or like the amount of, and maybe it's just been accentuated because it's all over social media, but the amount of blunders that like they have had where it's been like, they think there's 2 outs, they get an out and it's only 1 out, or, those type of things just seem to be compiling on the Mets. And then even though Soto, I would say, was having a good start to the season, that injury totally derails some things. And to your,
he's been gone.
Right. And to your point too, like on that, to me, Soto is a great player. He's not a great leader. He's not going to rally people together on that team. That's what Lindor's supposed to be.
Yep.
And I just don't know if he's doing that right now. I don't know how, and there's no insider information or anything like that. I just don't even know how interested he is in being in New York anymore. at least by the way that he is carrying himself.
Sorry, something exciting just happened on a game. And something
Oh, yeah.
about who we're
Yeah.
talking about.
It's all good.
So I'm going to ask the second question. Do you think this is sustainable for the Atlanta Braves? Their pitching is still decimated, and most of them aren't coming back. Strider is the only one that will be coming back.
Yeah.
Schwellenbach is gone for the season.
Yep.
Right.
Is it as sustainable as they are now? They have the best run differential in baseball.
Right,
Above
right.
the
Go ahead,
Dodgers.
Brian.
The offense, yes. We've seen this from Atlanta before. Now, I think they regress a little because I don't think the pitching staff's going to be able to carry the weight this long. But I think that offense will keep them in it enough that Atlanta will have to pivot come the trade deadline and go after someone like they did, with Sale when they brought him in that sense to really kind of get some extra leverage. Because again, this offense to me screams even better on some levels than the Dodgers offense. It's not, but it is potent. It's back to 2 years ago when you're lucky if you keep them under 10 runs a game.
Yep. Yeah, it's one of those things. Like Chris Sale's going to do what he does. Like that guy is an Iron Man, just an elite pitcher, and has been in basically his entire career. Bryce Elder is really started the year nicely, and they've gotten this from him before. If they could get him to, do this for a little longer until you can see Strider back out there on the field. Obviously, having Sale out there kind of helps Strider not have to come in and be like the number one right away. Just tell Strider, like, give us some of your stuff. Like we need something out of you. But I agree with you, Brian. If they can keep the offense alive and the pitching pitch well enough, I think of a guy like Joe Ryan would be a team I could see even pre-deadline if they want to make a big swing to bring him in. That would be a huge pickup for that rotation, especially like we could see the Mets and Phillies both just take a straight nosedive in this division. Washington's not going to catch them. The only teams they're beating are, ironically, the NL Central teams. But the Marlins are kind of interesting. Like they've shown some life, but like the Braves could run away with this division, and then they would be more set up to be like, yeah, let's go get a pitcher. Like that, because they're like, we might actually have a legit shot. With not having to worry about New York and Philadelphia, that helps them out a lot, and also could help them with their positioning within the playoffs too. Because the Dodgers, that division still could get interesting with San Diego, Arizona. I don't think San Francisco's going to turn around, but we'll see. They like those teams have some life in them that could make some things interesting. At least make the Dodgers have to play out the whole season, whereas the Braves, if New York doesn't turn this around, Philadelphia doesn't turn this around, all of a sudden Atlanta's just got a lot of running room to just steal this division. By August we may be talking like Atlanta's pretty much got this thing wrapped up.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, but I do think that it could be sustainable. They need another arm for sure. But I mean, you're talking right now. They're playing without Murphy. They can move Murphy potentially in a deal to bring in an arm.
I'm gonna say I heard Houston's looking at dealing.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. That would be something.
He does have a cannon.
I did not see that coming.
Right.
I'm not sure that would work out.
Right. No,
awesome.
all I'm saying is if I'm Atlanta right now, because of the rumblings that you're hearing out of Houston with Hunter Brown, I would be on the phone immediately going, what is it going to take? I know he's not playing right now, but we know he's coming back.
Yep.
And that would just be added fire for someone like Atlanta.
Yep.
Now, I don't know how true Houston is, but yeah, it would not be fun. Like, I don't like it because I would much rather have a Hunter Brown on my team than any other team. But it's, the reality is that's what Atlanta's going to have to be looking at, especially if they continue to play at this pace. That offense is too good not to start to, kick the tires on additional pitching.
Yeah, and like I said, officially the Mets did lose the game, so they are now on an 11-game losing streak. They're in just an absolute downfall right now, and you might see them move Bichette. honestly, the piece they bring in the offseason, you may see them, like, even before deadline time, just move him and throw Beatty back over there at third base because
Right.
it's been a disaster so far. And, like, if I was Toronto, honestly, I'd throw something small at him and see if they'd bite on it and try to bring Bichette back.
You see a move Lindor, slide Simeon over to short,
You can
and
do
then
it.
Bichette back to second.
No, first thing they're doing is moving Soto, if I'm being honest with you.
He's going to get the most return.
He
yeah.
would.
Yeah.
It's just getting somebody to eat that money up.
Oh, dude, Mets not going to eat that money. They pay for their prospects.
No,
They've
as
done
I
that
said,
for
you're gonna have to get
4 or 5
somebody to eat
years.
that money up for him. So that's
Yeah.
whoever's the Dodgers, of course.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so the second thing I want to do before we move on to the next piece is I want to pivot to the AL West.
Yep.
You could spend some time on the AL East, but I don't know. It's weird. That'll work.
We talk
itself
about
out.
that too much, right?
Yeah. I find the West, the AL West, some really, really interesting things because did I think the Texas Rangers were going to be good? I did. Again, we're 21 games in, so it's not
Yeah.
like the standings matter. But some things are interesting. Seattle is starting off in a really weird spot.
Yeah.
They do have a positive run differential. They're having a hard time scoring runs, but they're not. Their pitching is so great.
Yep.
It's going to hold up. But I'm not going to lie. The Angels are interesting to me. Now, Mike Trout's on a tear right now. So I think he's carrying some numbers because they had no business sweeping the Yankees. And they didn't sweep them, obviously. They didn't sweep them, but they were darn near close.
Yeah.
Close, right.
From a stupid, drop ball in the infield for no reason. They could have swept.
Yep.
I think Trout is carrying some of these numbers, but they have a positive run differential. They're at a 500 record right now. It's not a horrible team. It's not an amazing team, but it's still not a horrible team. They have better coaching. They have a new manager.
Yeah.
If Mike Trout stays healthy, do you think the Angels have a shot at anything?
That's the key. I think it's more than just Trout. I think they
Obviously,
have to be
very much so.
They have to be durable all the way, which has not been the calling card of the Angels. Could they? I mean, if things stay the way that they are, I really just don't see the Mariners continuing to struggle at that capacity with the pitching staff that they have.
Yep.
The bats are gonna turn at some point for them. The bigger question for me is can the Angels pitching hold up to that division? Because the Astros are absolutely horrific, right?
Yep.
With the exception of their offense.
Yep.
And so they're going to beat up on pitchers.
Yeah.
They just can't stop anybody from scoring.
Yeah.
So, that's some of the challenge for them. We know what the Athletics can do offensively.
Yep.
And we know what the Rangers are. Like, to me, this is an offensive division.
Ironically.
And it's whoever's pitching is going to last the best at this. And honestly, I wouldn't have said it at the beginning of the season, but the Rangers are probably in the best position to outlast anybody in this division currently.
Yep.
Now, Seattle, if their offense comes around, obviously they get the nod because of pitching.
Yeah. Well, it's really weird. So I looked at when you were talking about the Angels statistics. Truthfully, Trout's not batting great. He's got a lot of home runs, but he's only batting like 237 right now. His on-base percentage, though, is .414, so pretty solid there. But I look all the way down their lineup.
I mean, he had just like 5 home runs in 5 days.
Correct. Like, don't get me wrong. He had a really nice stretch, but that's where I'm saying, like, they may have some more upside than I really realized because their hitters actually aren't hitting that well. If you look across the board, like, most of their hitters aren't hitting some elite, like, average, high on-base percentages and stuff. Like, you have a couple guys that are doing all right. But even,
I want to say it's
like,
Neto and Trout, essentially, right?
Yeah, Neto's batting .250 on base percentage of .377, which is not bad. But that's where I'm thinking, like, both those guys have higher ceilings that they could hit Soler has a higher ceiling than where he's at right now too. And then obviously Adele had a monster year last year. That there may be something else there, but they can make things interesting for sure. I don't know that their pitching can hold up. Soriano's obviously been unbelievable. His first 5 starts, I think he's got like something just over like a 0 ERA or something, like
Yeah.
0.2 ERA. Like that's just stupid. Like and good for him, man. Good for
Yeah,
him.
no,
But
you're right.
like I look at this right now, and Seattle, if they just weren't inventing ways to lose games right now, Seattle could have run away with this division. If they just score a couple runs, because that's truthfully, I mean, if you probably look at their the way they've lost the games, most of these games they've lost by like 1 or 2 runs. Like every game is close because they're not scoring runs. It's never a good thing when Brendan Donovan's your power hitter on a team with J Rod and the Dumper and Naylor and all these other guys. Like not a good thing. Now I will say they are starting to find their groove a little bit. Seems like, and their pitching. I don't know that there's a pitching rotation in baseball that I would put up against that rotation. They've got 6 guys that are legit because Bryce Miller's not even pitching right now, and that kid's stuff's electric too. So,
Right.
It's one
The
of those
pitching they
things.
have is just out of this world.
Yeah, it's unreal. So it's like if they just start scoring 4 runs a game, 5 runs a game, they're gonna win a whole lot of games. Because even like you said, the offenses in this division actually are surprisingly pretty good. We knew the Athletics would have some fun with their pitching staff being awful, and we're kind of seeing that. But like Houston's offense is unreal right now. Texas is actually hitting the ball pretty well too. So, yeah, I would agree with you, Brian. Like right now, Seattle, I still believe in more probably than Texas, but Texas probably has the best outlook of any of these teams because we did hit on it. Like if Mackenzie Gore's pitching well, and a couple of the other pitchers that were already on the staff prior to his acquisition, like their pitching staff's pretty good. And some hitters had just been a little below average. Evan Carter's back up now. Langford, we kind of saw as like a breakout year, and then Berger had an absolutely atrocious year last year. Jock Peterson had an atrocious year last year. So they've got a lot of upside on the offensive side too, but I'm really confused by this division. I really am. Like I thought Seattle was gonna like pretty much just walk through this division. Texas might have a little bit of say, and then Houston, we just they always seem to figure it out these last like 10 years, but I don't know that they're figuring it out this year.
Not with this pitching staff.
They can't win games right now. I mean, when you score 116 runs in your first 20 games and you have a negative 17 run differential,
right?
Your pitching staff's awful.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask a couple questions, and then we can move on. So this is still a sport that has divisions, so there's going to be one division division winner for each of these. Assumed right now, based on let's just say the Yankees are winning the East because that's the favorites since the beginning of the season. The Guardians are winning the Central, or Detroit's winning the Central.
Yep.
We'll take those two. And then in the West, one of the winners, we're going to say the Mariners because they probably still are the favorites.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick on the Angels, Athletics, and Rangers in this case. Do you think the Rangers are going to be better than the Blue Jays?
That's a good question. I will go with yes. I think their pitching staff is better and obviously currently healthy. I would say unless you start seeing the Blue Jays offense wake up, I think Texas looks like the better team right now.
Okay, Brian.
That's a tough one for me because I look at what the Blue Jays have to offer, and I would probably give them the nod because, in my opinion, they're more contact oriented. Yep. You just talked about it earlier in the podcast, Tim, about even today, like hit, strikeout, hit, they start running. So if if the Blue Jays can start scoring runs, I think they're going to slowly edge their way back into contention.
Yeah.
Now, to me, the Rangers, and maybe this is just cynical, I don't trust that they're going to be able to stay healthy enough to keep the offense at a high enough level.
Yeah.
That's where it scares me.
So at this moment, based on this question, then we're going to say the Yankees are winning the division, the Blue Jays would be second.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm going to say the Tigers are going to win the Central.
Yep.
Just in this hypothetical situation,
Sure.
the Guardians would be in second place.
Yeah.
So are the Rangers better than the Guardians? Can they beat the Guardians?
I think so.
Yes, because I think overall their pitching staff is better. Now, Cleveland's pitching is really good right now. But the big factor is obviously Corey Seager. Corey Seager changes that outlook drastically. When healthy, Corey Seager affects games more than almost every other player in Major League Baseball.
Right.
I've always liked Seager, but I don't know what it is about him that affects the game so much for Texas. But that guy drastically changes what that team is. So if Seager is healthy, I would take the Rangers by a large margin against Cleveland. But that's a big if.
Brian, did you answer that already?
Yeah, and I'm in the same boat. Like to me, overall, offensively, I trust Texas way more as long as they're healthy. I mean, obviously, you're talking about, if Seager goes down, a couple of their pitchers go down. Like, let's say DeGrom is out, Gore gets hurt. It's going to change some things.
Sure.
But I mean, when you look at and again, we can't predict what the future is going to hold in the sense of how players are going to play. But when you look on paper, I don't see Cleveland's pitching matched up against the Rangers pitching.
No.
I don't see that lineup matching with the Rangers lineup. The Rangers are better. And my only nod going back to for Toronto is we've seen them do this before.
Sure.
That's what gives me the edge for there. Cleveland, I mean, they're going to be in the conversation. They're a good team.
Yeah.
But they're not the better team of those two if everybody hits to their potential.
Well, and realistically, I think one piece we'd have to really consider is, does Cleveland still, even if they're in a winning position or they're battling for the division, still consider moving Stephen Kwan, who is one of their best players at the trade deadline? So, it's hard to believe that team, I love Stephen Kwan, but he's getting prospects. You're not getting some elite player back for him. So it's not somebody that's going to help the team this year. I just find it hard to believe, unless Stephen Kwan's taking a home team discount like Jose has, that Stephen Kwan's going to be in Cleveland long term.
Right. So now this is where it gets fun.
All right.
This is the main part I was going to hit. We're gonna look at the Athletics and the Angels right now and ask the same question: can the Athletics be better than the Guardians?
Man,
do I want them to be? Absolutely. They're a lot more fun to watch, but
right.
Now I will say this: you're looking at a point in the season right now where they are scoring some runs, but I think their offense is actually a lot better than what they've shown, because Nick Kurtz is not even hitting the ball really well right now. And so if you can get him going, plus Shea Langoliers is nails right now. That kid is hammering the baseball. But there's just you go down that list, Rooker, Lawrence Butler, they've got a list of a lot of hitters that Cleveland, when you get past J Ram and Kwan and maybe DeLauder, there's not a whole lot sitting back there. And so it's their pitching's really good. Definitely better than the A's, but I think the A's hitters might be able to out-hit 2 runs a game, which I think Cleveland would have to try to keep things to.
Right.
They currently scored, Athletics and the Guardians have scored the same amount of runs.
Exactly. I said, and that's with the rookie of the year who hit almost 40 home runs in the basically second half of the year last year, is not even hitting the baseball yet. So
Yeah. For me, unfortunately, this is where I'm with you. I'd love to see the Athletics figure it out. I just don't think they're going to hold up.
I don't either.
Unfortunately, I don't
fair.
think that pitching staff is designed to hold up for them. I don't care how many runs they score. They have to score that many runs, especially playing where they're playing in Sacramento.
Yep.
But unfortunately, the Guardians, surprisingly, they're a younger pitching staff.
Yep.
But like Gavin Williams, I think is legit for them. Now, whether Messick comes along, that's going to be the big question mark for Cleveland.
Sure.
Is it Parker Messick, right? I believe that's his first name.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Is like if he develops and really starts to catch on, and they can have kind of that 1, 2, maybe even 3, because Williams is not even quote unquote the main guy.
Yeah.
Bibee is.
Yep.
But, if you get those two guys going, that's going to be better. Because, like, let's be honest, I don't trust Severino.
No.
I don't trust Springs. I don't even really know who Ginn is.
I was gonna say, you could have said Severino and just stopped there because he's the best pitcher on the staff.
Right. Like, I mean, Aaron Savali, there's a reason why Milwaukee, who collects pitchers, chose not to keep that guy. So, like, that's just my thought.
Yeah. No, and look at what Houston's doing. Houston's putting up mad runs, but their pitching staff is so bad.
Exactly.
So the next question is, can the Angels be better than the Guardians?
No.
Yeah, I would say I would agree.
So that seems a lot more firm.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Like I said, is there some upside in that offense? I think so, but once again, their pitching staff, like Soriano's pitching at a level he won't keep, and I don't know who else on that staff's going to be anywhere close to being able to.
You're not a Kikuchi fan, man?
Exactly.
I'm actually a really big
Exactly.
Kikuchi fan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, boy. I'd
Right.
go Cleveland there.
I mean,
Okay,
you even look at their bullpen. I'm like, I don't even know that I would trade for people in their bullpen.
They've got 2 or 3 guys hurt that are like almost back.
Yeah.
Which will be a big deal. Like Ben Joyce.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
So their bullpen will get better.
Well, and
I think I think it's kind of dependent upon Trout, honestly.
100%.
If he can play 162, or I mean whatever 162 is nowadays, 150,
Right.
145, whatever. If he can do that, honestly, there's a decent chance they could be better than the Guardians.
I won't
But
disagree.
it's going to be close.
I won't
They're gonna
disagree with
outscore.
you because you've got two things. Like, I think the Angels are also playing better than I expected, obviously. But
100%. A
once
lot of
again,
credit.
Cleveland's also playing a lot better than I anticipated they were going to play. And part of that is early in the season, DeLauder hit like 4 home runs right out the gate, and they won games because he homered in like a 2-3 game or something like that. And so I don't know. It's kind of weird because the Angels, like, what was it, Brian? Maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they drafted like their entire draft was all pitchers. I think they drafted 20 players, all pitchers. So like they got to have some pitchers there, right? Like just hiding somewhere.
I can't find them. Like I don't know where they went to. Like, I mean,
Unbelievable.
like I said, I mean, this is a guy that I would probably trade for some pretty risky relievers right now as a Cardinals fan. I don't know that anybody that's on their active roster in the bullpen, maybe outside of Soriano, that I'm even taking the chance on their pitching staff at this point. So like, to me, and like I went to Fangraphs, pulled up both of their rosters, and I'm just trying to go through like, okay, I think it's closer. I think the Angels have made it closer than it appeared.
Yeah.
But when you start going position to position, like the A's are, I mean, the Angels are nice. And I think there's some fun stories there. Like, can Soler continue to be, a power guy for them? Can he protect someone like Trout?
Literal protect.
Yeah, right. He might have to throw down for him. That's right. I like O'Hoppe, their catcher. But to this point, he hasn't been an offensive juggernaut.
Yep.
So it's like you start looking up and down.
To be his calling card.
Right. And so I start looking up and down, and I mean, it's hard to beat when you got J-Ram on your team. Like,
Yep.
I mean, that dude just produces, and then they've got Angel Martinez, who's the young guy that's starting to come on. Their outfielder that's a switch hitter. We know DeLauder has power. Will he figure it out? If they keep Stephen Kwan, he's just an on-base machine.
Yep.
Like, I mean, they just have it better. And then, like I said, you get to their pitching, and you've got Bybee and Williams and Cantillo and Messick, like, and compared to the Angels in the outfield pitching staff that they got going on. So
literally.
Right. Like, they're going to need to call on those. Hey, we need a remake of that movie for them, unfortunately. That's right. Right. Bubble wrap him up in the spiritual realm, people.
Love that movie.
It's great. It's great. It's just unfortunately not reality for the Angels right now.
You heard it here, guys. The Angels might make the playoffs this year. All right, let's wrap this up. Let's go to the hometown breakdown. What are your guys' thoughts on the weekend series? The week. Let's go, Michael. Let's go to hit you first.
Cubs are ready to win the World Series now, man. Like,
they're back.
We're back, baby. It's never good whenever I'm looking at Michael Bush's current average, and I'm excited because it's up to 164. But considering he was sitting at like 118 last Sunday, pretty much improved a lot. So he's, a lot of the guys really seem to be seeing the ball better. Even PCA, I think, is up to above 220 finally, which is sad that that's up. But like, their offense is scoring like crazy right now. So it's like you got him going. Horner is an absolute animal right now. Tim called my boy top 10 finish in MVP race, and right now I'd say he's probably top 5. He's even showing power that we've never seen from the guy. So I don't really. I'm trying not to put too much stock in. Yeah, I'm trying not to put too much stock into it because we did just play the lowly Phillies and Mets.
Right.
But some nice tune-up series where we put up a lot of runs and got some hitters going. But Horner even was it 3 games ago had 5 RBIs in a game, and it's like, this is not a guy that is necessarily an RBI machine, but he's a hit machine, and he is crushing baseballs. He's playing Gold Glove defense. Really a pleasant surprise to start the season that we've gotten like 2 or 3 home runs out of him in a week. Because I think last year he had like 5 total maybe, and like 4 of them were against the Cardinals for some reason.
That's how it works.
But Ian Happ hit the ball this week. I think Ian Happ added 2 home runs this weekend in the series on his total, and Suzuki is back in the lineup. Now, I will say, I have a critique for Craig, and it is that you need to work Suzuki in, but Matt Shaw's got to be seeing the field, because Matt Shaw's batting too well right now not to be out there. He's batting around 270 right now with getting kind of platooned playing time with Suzuki back. But the problem is Mo Baller. That's like the Cubs have some good problems happening right now. Their best hitter, or probably their most consistent guy that I see, is Michael Bush. Isn't even hitting the ball right now, and they're actually scoring runs without him. So, we take that as a win. But you're getting some of these young guys that there were a lot of question marks coming into the year. Like I just said, Mo Baller, Ballesteros is really hitting very well to all parts of the ballpark, which that'll play anywhere. And then Matt Shaw, like I said, is starting to kind of find his footing out there in right field, like we talked about. It was going to take some time because Wrigley is a tough place to play right field. More than a lot of a lot of stadiums. It's one of the more difficult ones, but he's kind of finding his footing. Suzuki obviously has a lot higher power profile than Shaw does, but it is going to be interesting to see how that continues to play out if Ballesteros continues to make sure that he's in the lineup. Essentially, I mean, the way he's hitting, they can't put him on the bench when the kid's batting like 370 right now, and he's showing power too. So it's not like he's just hitting for average. He's showing power too. So, yeah, I mean, I think I sat here 3 weeks ago and said I thought Suzuki might get traded, and I'm kind of standing on that too right now with the way these young guys are playing. Like I said, at a certain point, I'd rather see Matt Shaw out there in right field because he's a better fielder for sure than Suzuki is. And if Suzuki's batting 220 and he gives me one extra home run, I'd rather see Matt Shaw out there with the speed and defense that he has batting 270. I'd rather see that out in the field. So, and like I said, the way Ballesteros is hitting right now, you're not taking him out of the DH spot, so that adds
Right.
a tougher spot. Plus, both of their catchers are hitting well too. So,
Yeah.
some good problems. The inevitable that's going to be hard to see or see how they overcome is the pitching issues. It's not that our pitchers are pitching poorly; it's that we are running out of pitching. I think I saw last week we have 10 pitchers on our 40-man roster that have hit the IL already, and a couple of those guys are done for the year. Obviously, Cade Horton, and we got worse news is they are going to do Tommy John, so he's out.
Right.
Out, probably even to a good portion of next year. So you have the upside of Justin Steele coming back, but when you keep losing relievers every single day, our closer goes down. Like, we're gonna have to keep scoring runs because our pitching is
Yeah.
running out of players. But it also presented an interesting idea for Craig Counsell and the staff. Is Ben Brown is a guy that they're really high on, but they're finding it hard to put him in somewhere. And with Palencia going down, they're going to give him a shot at closer, which
Okay.
really makes a lot of sense for a guy like him. He's more of a two-pitch pitcher that has a lot of velocity. Has some command issues, but with a lot of closers, you can get away with that if you've got the high velocity and two pretty nasty pitches. And so I'm going to be intrigued to see how that's playing out the next couple weeks with Palencia sidelined for at least 15 days. Because it's going to be him and I think the kid they threw today, Riley Martin, I believe is the kid's name. I think those two are going to get some shots at the back end of the bullpen to see what we got. Because I tell you, it'd be electric to be able to get a spot for Ben Brown. Maybe he's not like your everyday closer, but he could be the setup guy maybe for Palencia and kind of finally find that spot for him. Because they've still been mixing him in as a spot starter and long inning guy, and the problem is at a certain point teams just start to hit that kid, and it's like his stuff's really nasty for a while, but once he starts getting hit, he starts giving up runs fast. So a closer or deep reliever or something, that's probably the ideal spot for him. So I am excited to see that, but am trying to keep from getting too excited, knowing that our pitching staff is in pretty rough shape right now. So keep winning ball games. They I want to say they went 8-2 in the last 10. Nice clip to be on right now. Unfortunately, unless I didn't see how Milwaukee game turned out. They're either in last or in second place. Yeah, they're in second to last place in the division now. But they're playing good ball right now, so we'll see. Steele should be back in the next 3 weeks, so see him ramping up and see what he can do for the team. You'll have Matt Boyd back at some point in the next couple weeks as well, and hopefully we can keep it afloat. until then. But the problem is all these other teams in the Central Division keep winning baseball games, boys. They're making me worried.
Yeah, at least everybody's within like a game and a half.
It's
Game and a
close.
half, right?
It kind of doesn't matter when it's close like that.
Yep.
Man, you guys have sustained so many pitching injuries.
Yeah.
My biggest question for you, I assume the offense is going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like most of your guys are more towards the proven side, not
Correct.
all of them, but some.
Correct.
I'm curious what Imanaga is going to be like at the end of the year because
Yeah.
his first year he was nails.
Yep.
Second year was just like, dude, this guy has just given up the biggest bombs you've ever seen.
Yep.
This year it's like, oh, he's nails again.
Yep.
But that kind of doesn't make complete sense. Like, is he true just like a 180 player back
Right.
and forth? You know, like we joke a lot about Hepalante is, on the even years, dude's nails. On the odd years, he's atrocious.
Right.
So I'm curious to see for Imanaga, is it sustainable?
Well,
Which I don't know. I've not looked. But.
The thing I think about, last year is, was he potentially pitching through an injury? Because if you remember early in the year, he suffered a hamstring injury, and it was a pretty severe one that held him out for about 6 weeks. And he really just was not the same after he came back. So I don't know if that was still affecting him because he knew there was contract stuff kind of hanging over his head. Now, I'll be honest with you. I think he'd been better off keeping himself out an extended point of time because him pitching is what gave the Cubs concern when he started giving up all those home runs that caused him to end up being a qualifying offer guy. But it is a curious case for sure. Like, obviously, if the Cubs are going to go anywhere, they're going to need him to pitch well with the way the staff's beat up right now. So, and then obviously, like I said before, like Jameson Tyone has to step up. He has to be right now, especially with Boyd out. Like he has to be your 1 or 2 in that staff, and you just get excited when Cabrera goes out there and shoves. And hope he can continue to do that. But I am a little disappointed with losing Horton because I thought he was going to give some protection to Cabrera this year, and not kind of lower expectations what the fan base and everybody else kind of was hoping or was going to see out of Cabrera. But I think obviously losing your best pitcher on your staff for the entire season is going to turn up that pressure a lot for him. So that's who I'm really watching on the staff is Cabrera to see how he kind of weathers that because he has the stuff. I mean, we've seen it. Like he has the stuff to be a 1 or 2 on anybody's staff if he can keep from walking players and putting himself in bad spots. So, but yeah, you bring up a great case. I mean, Imanaga, and that's going to make his free agency really interesting.
Yeah, it's a walk year.
2 out of 3 teams, or 2 out of 3 years he's been good, but 1 year he was really bad and gave up a whole lot of home runs. You may see him sign a super inflated 1-year deal with somebody after the year's over.
Yeah, and that for the record, that wasn't me saying hoping he's bad. It was just like curiosity.
No, I 100% agree that. I mean, there was a lot of questions just going into the season. So, to see him pitching well right now, obviously, it gives me a little hope. And they're kind of pitching him in a way that they're kind of making him stay out of his own way. So like they pulled him early in a game that he kind of wanted to continue on in earlier in the year. But the thing is, it's a long season, and is it worth you finishing that inning with the bases, 2 guys on? I don't know that it is. It's the second week of the season, and as much as I like to, rag on Craig Counsell, like it probably was the right decision to pull him out of that game, even though he was pitching well. So he's healthy later in the year because, like I said, right now our pitching staff is very beat up. We look a lot like Houston did last year. It's like we're just gonna have to keep pulling names out of a hat and sending kids up to pitch, but it's working out right now.
Brian, take us through the Redbirds.
Hey, man, I mean, as of today, coming off the sweep in Houston, it took extras, but hey, they figured it out. So right there for the NL Central lead. Who would have guessed that coming into the season for the Cardinals? But, maybe a little bit of an overreaction. They're right. Maybe a little bit of an overreaction, but I think this offense is legit.
Yeah.
I really do think that their offense is there. You know, I've liked what I've seen out of most of the starters. You know, my question still is going to be this bullpen. I mean, even in this series, and now granted, as bad as the Astros are with the pitching right now, that offense is elite. And I mean, anytime you've got Yordan Alvarez, who I think homered in every game of the series,
He homered, I think, 4 times.
yeah, 4 times, but he had a homer today in the 8th inning and
it's
came
not
up with a
impressive
chance.
against our pitching staff, but it's still,
Like-
yeah, it is kind of impressive.
I mean, the dude is, I mean, he's good. And so, but again, I'm not going to talk about him. We're here to talk about the Cardinals, okay, guys? The Cardinals. No, I mean, I've been impressed. I mean, I have to say, Jordan Walker continued his hit streak today. Another shot off the left field wall, kind of out in left center field. I mean, he's doing his thing. We're starting to see some of the other guys come back around. Burley's starting to make a lot more hard contact, get on base a little bit more. The, potential slump of JJ's early part of the career seems to be coming back around.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think the big thing is like, the young guys are doing what they're supposed to do. Does that change the overall feel for the season long term? Probably not, because they're still going to hit some skids. They're still going to run into some things. And I don't think the pitching staff is secure enough. I mean, I like what Libby's doing. He's making some strides there. I've been fairly impressed with Leahy as a starter.
Sure.
But again, none of these guys would I consider being aces or potentially even a 2. We're still stuck in that 3 to 5 range for everybody. And at some point, the league's going to catch on, because the whole goal was we need more swing and miss, and we're not generating any swing and miss, with the exception of maybe Riley O'Brien. And even today, he got hit around a little bit. And so it's like, there's still some question marks around the pitching staff. And I know that was going to be the case. I mean, we got bad news when it came to Dick Fitz. He's out for the year. We were kind of hoping he would work his way back in. So kind of like what you were saying, Michael, with the Cubs, it's going to put some pressure on someone like Hunter Dobbins, who's coming back from an injury. Can he really kind of become someone, if they're going to have any type of success? It puts a little bit more pressure on someone like a Quinn Matthews, all of that. Can these guys come up and make a difference? Because at some point, we're going to have to start dipping into that AAA pitching stock, especially for these guys. I mean, it is an even year, so maybe Palante becomes something nobody expects. But I'm not going to hold my breath on that one.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I like the progress of the offense. They're still swing and miss, which scares me in this lineup. But overall, they're still putting up runs. They're keeping themselves in games. They're athletic. They run the base as well. Defensively, they're still one of the best teams in baseball across the board. And that's going to win a lot of games. And I still stand by it. I think they will sniff and be a part of the wild card conversation. I just don't know if they have the pitching to keep them in it long term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, a sweep's impressive no matter what the team, like, sweeps are hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, this team is supposed to be rebuilding.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, historically, when I say historically, the last few years, they have always hit in this ballpark.
Yes.
And I guess it's because it's a righty's paradise. Like, I was putting bets on Gorman for all 3 series because for some reason, when he faces the Astros, it's just like, oh, I'm a good baseball player is what happens. So that part, it kind of doesn't shock me, but at the same time, you can't take it for granted because Houston's offense is one of the best in baseball.
Yep.
Yeah.
Their pitching is atrocious.
Yeah.
And I was just looking at numbers, and it's really bad. It is quite interesting though, because I want to throw something to you guys. I'm gonna focus on the bottom 10 staffs in baseball, so it's bullpen and starting. The Nationals have the ultimate worst and they have a negative 2.2
No doubt.
WAR, which is
That's hard to believe.
Right.
That's
Anytime
really
you got
bad.
Miles Michaelis on your pitching staff, he's going to bring the
Oh,
whole
yeah,
thing
that's
down.
true. Houston's at number 29, negative 0.6 WAR, and St. Louis is at an even. It's 0. It's 0.1, but negative 0.1, but it's pretty even. But it's interesting. Chicago is at number 20 out of 30, and they have 1.2 WAR. They have a 3.7 ERA as a staff, which is honestly really good.
Right.
So I think you're.
Tell me, the Cubs are going to the World Series. They're
the
not even
team's
playing
gonna be
well and they're
fine
winning.
because they just weren't scoring. If they're going to
Correct.
score, they're going to be fine. But I do think it's interesting. Of all the bottom 10 teams in this category with all these staffs, only 3 out of 10 have positive run differentials.
Yeah.
St. Louis, the Rays, and Chicago. All of which have negative run differentials. And I'm sorry, positive records, negative run differentials.
Run differentials. Right.
So the managers and the coaching is managing games really well because this pitching should not be allowing the team to do what it's doing.
No.
But Brian, you said most of this stuff. The only thing I want to mention is I've actually been paying a lot of attention to the minors this particular week because some cool stuff's been happening. Ty Pete, who is a player that we acquired in the Seattle deal with Brendan Donovan.
Yep.
The main acquisition was that switch pitcher Senja, but Ty Pete just hit for the cycle yesterday.
Yes.
Good for him.
Yeah.
He's been on
he did.
a disgusting tear
What
the
level?
last 3 days. A high A.
Okay.
High A.
Which I would imagine his strikeouts are a little high, so he could still be waiting, but I would imagine he's close to a AA promotion.
I would say.
But he's a center fielder. He's a 5, maybe not 5, maybe 4, because he doesn't have contact right now. But it is interesting when I think about Vic, because if he can't figure it out this year, like this is his year, because if not, there is too many players below him that have much better hitting profiles that can take center field over, that are also athletic, that can also make contact and also have power. But there's a lot of good things happening in the system with our pitching too. So I've just been paying attention to that. Hunter Dobbins made another start today, which I would imagine maybe not his next start. I have to figure out the calendar. It's either the next start or the one after that. He'll be in St. Louis because our old buddy Dick Fitz is getting a surgery.
Yeah.
So he's out for the year. So that kind of makes Dobbins the next man up.
The next guy. Yeah.
The after next Thursday, it's our last off day for I think we have a 17 or 18 game stretch.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
you're gonna see him.
Yeah, I know they're gonna bring a 6-man for the rotation.
For sure.
I think Dobbins is probably next. Quinn Matthews is throwing the ball really well. He can't find the strike zone, but he is striking out an absurd amount of people. I do kind of wonder, it is location for sure. I wonder if some of that could fix itself with coaching and the catching dynamic in the majors, but at the same time, I'm not in the front office. I don't know things like they do. So I just want to highlight the system. And also, this is a small thing. It has nothing to do with the field, but I thought it was really cool to see Chaim Bloom in the booth last night's game. You don't often see that. I mean, you do in some places. I've seen, what's the Cubs' name? Jed Hoyer? Right?
Yeah.
I've seen Hoyer in the booth sometimes, but I've just been really impressed with Bloom's personality and his communication. Most of those guys, man, even the Dodgers, like even Friedman and Gomes, I think his name is, the actual general manager, have this kind of like arrogance and air about them because they're stupid smart.
Yep.
Like that's the only reason they have those jobs. But I gotta give props to Bloom because he kind of treats you and talks to you like you're just a normal human being, and like he is as well. And then shout out for Dealing the Cards guys too, because they got to have him on their podcast, that's wild. It's just a blogging group of kids, because I mean I'm freaking old.
Yeah.
Got to have the Pobo of a baseball organization on. Like that's pretty cool that he would do that.
That's pretty thick.
Right.
Well,
we got to reach out. That's what I'm hearing.
Right.
Yeah. Totally.
Well, and I think from the two guys you brought up, both of those guys spent a at least a decent amount of time with Theo Epstein, who built the Cubs World Series team.
In Boston.
And he was a guy that was always around. And so post his career with Chicago, he went back to Boston and was like a consultant in their organization doing stuff. So I'm sure him and Bloom probably talked quite a bit. And, you know, maybe that's playing out pretty nicely for you guys. But
Let's hope so.
you actually brought up
we'll
a
see in the long
thing
run.
I was going to ask you guys. So you mentioned you've got a lot of 3 to 5 guys. Do you have any true number ones that are in your system right now that you're kind of watching, or any of the guys that you mentioned, are they potential number one guys, or are you looking at more like 2 to 3 type pitchers for most of those guys?
I mean, you know, obviously Dobbins in of himself, I don't think he would be like a natural ace. But he was projected to be fairly well. Obviously Matthews has a high swing and miss rate, which gives us that. I mean, there's, you know, the kid Doyle, Liam Doyle. Now when I start talking about some of these, and Tim, you can correct me on this too, some of these guys are not going to be this year. You're talking 2, potentially 3 years away. Because what's happened is I think they thought like Tink Hentz and Matthews and some of those kids would be ready now, and Hentz just has not been able to stay healthy. He's not been able to pitch. And then Matthews just continually finds this command control. He cannot keep it legitimately down in the strike zone. And so that's kind of hampered some of that. And I think, you know, you really had to start to question, because I mean, again, Libator, like, I'm not trying to knock him. Like, he was very highly recruited. He has potential. The problem is in today's game, you need a swing and miss guy, and Libby's just not that guy. And so you can't berate out there these guys as your 1 and 2s week after week and expect it to be there. I mean, there's some other kids down, you know, a little bit further down. I mean, I think Bloom did a great job of fleecing Boston for some of their young pitching. Sagenti, you know, is he a legitimate starter bullpen guy? I don't know yet, but has a lot of arm side value, especially from the right side. So it's like, you know, those are kids that could potentially be like 2. No one, in my opinion, Tim, you could speak to this. No one, in my opinion, has thrust themselves out as like going to be this ace undoubtedly for the organization yet. I still think we're, you know, a couple of years away from really being able to see what I would say is a true ace, unless Bloom is willing to go out in the offseason. I don't think it'll be at the deadline, but out at the offseason and really make a play for someone that is a legitimate front runner. I mean, here, I'm going to say it out. I'll put it out there. I'm all for going and getting Hunter Brown, even if that means, you know, it's still a 2-year window before you think you're going to be competitive, because I think he will still be really good in 2 to 3 years.
Liam Doyle for Hunter Brown?
I would, just because of the proven asset.
Oh, 100% would too.
Wow. Okay.
So, to answer your question, it kind of depends. Everybody has a different definition of.
My bad.
Everybody has a different definition of 1 and 2. You're good. Liam Doyle's ceiling on paper is pretty high up there. I mean, he's had an atrocious start to the season, but I mean, he's beginning his developmental phase. Like, in his 2 or 3 outings, he's pretty much throwing exclusively sliders. And there's a report that came out about how they need him to work on not just his fastball, because his fastball is already a 70 grade. So it's like, dude, that's good. We need to give you other pitches. So he's trying to figure that part out, which means his lines right now are terrible. And you don't care about that right now. I would still say I would for sure say his ceiling on paper is pretty high. You kind of got to see the developmental phase, because he does have a reliever risk too. If you're only a fastball and one other pitcher, like, you're not going to be able to start. I'm going to give you 2 more names. I do think Senja has a higher ceiling than the league sees. From the right side specifically. He's got a lot of really good pitches, and I think he's going to kind of go under the radar, because in comparison with some other names, like Quinn Matthews is going to stay above him. Doyle is obviously going to stay above him. I'm pretty high on Takoa Roby. He's coming off surgery, so it's going to be still a minute. But there's one name that is probably, man, top 5 pitcher in all of the minor leagues. His name is Tanner Franklin.
Yeah.
He came in this past draft with Doyle from Tennessee, actually. He's currently got it like a 70% strikeout rate right now in
crazy.
in high A. And there was an article, I think it was it Derek Gould? There was an article and someone highlighted something about the system, and he's got the highest ceiling of any pitcher in the organization, more than
Right.
Doyle, more than these other guys, because his fastball is already elite, his slider is really elite, and his I think his changeup is what they're working on right now. Let me see here, fastball, slider. I think that maybe, I don't want to speak out of turn. They're working on a third pitch of getting it better, and he's throwing in the hundreds already. So the main thing for him is they got to get him built up, because he was a reliever in college.
Yep.
So he's never had the numerical number under him. A lot of people think if his body holds up and he passes tests, I've seen a lot of people in Cardinals media say like he has the opportunity to make the big club this year, like at the end of the year. Because he's older than Doyle. Let me confirm that. So he's the same age as Doyle, but he's further along.
Gotcha.
So a lot of people speculate like he has the talent to be able to pace himself that high. Now, Bloom's always said since he became the Pobo that like somebody has to blow away AAA before they can touch the majors to him. So hypothetically, that's probably not true, but I have seen writers say like he's a fast tracker more so than Doyle. And it's really just, can he throw 150 innings of 100-mile-an-hour fastballs? You know what I mean?
Yep.
The talent's there.
Yep.
Like, the talent's ridiculous. Like, his strikeout rate right now is, let me confirm this. He's got 22 strikeouts in 10 innings. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's pretty strong.
It is high A, but still.
But yeah, I mean,
that's like Paul Skeen's minor league numbers.
Now Dustin May threw a pretty good game there on Wednesday. So he maybe kind of figuring some stuff out. The other question I had for you boys was left field. Nootbaar should be back late May, June's time frame, I think is what I had read previously. What are you guys going to do? Is Nootbaar just going to become the guy and you send Church back down, or JC, one of the two? Because your guys are struggling out there in left field.
It's like the best field or the best position on the field right now.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, no question. No, this is just my opinion. I shake my head like I'm in the front office and can tell you everything they're going to do. I honestly think what's going to happen is Nootbaar's going to come back. He's going to get left field reps consistently. I think Church becomes your fourth outfielder. Sagaci's going to stay on the team because of the versatility that he can go in the infield or the outfield if needed. I think, unfortunately, it's just time to DFA Fermin.
Yeah.
And I think somebody else is going to pick him up, because there's going to be a need for that. And then he's going to end up playing somewhere else, in that regard, unfortunately, because I don't think Fermin's a bad overall player, but he's the odd man out in all of this right now. And Nootbaar's going to get the everyday reps with the exception of an off day.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the same. Like Church is going to get right field when Jordan needs a day off. Is probably going to go out to center field if it's a righty and Vic needs a day off. You might see Sagaci mixed in to that, but I think Sagaci is going to be the win day off, JJ day off is what it's going to kind of become to for him.
Yeah.
And that's the value there. Fermin just doesn't have any of that plus side value.
Yep.
Just because it's there. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Sagaci goes down, but I would bet that Fermin's off the team before that, just because
I could see that.
He's
not getting much playing time as it is, anyways.
Right.
Yeah, this is probably my time when I shout out, because Bloom probably is listening to our podcast. Keep Pedro Pages on the team. He is the best catcher in the league.
I heard he tore his ankle up today. You're not going to want to do that.
We shall see, boys. We shall see. All right. Well, thank you guys for sticking around this long. Like I said at the beginning, I think it's going to be a short one, and it doesn't. It never ends
does.
up being that case. My wife tells me every time. She's like, "I'm not surprised."
That's right.
But thank you all for listening. Really appreciate you guys. Give us a like, follow, comment, all that good stuff, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Appreciate it.